But yeah, this video ended up getting really long, so I'm gonna have to split it into 2 parts. So this will be part 1 of 2, but the second one it's a big part of this, and I'll try to release these like at the same time or like maybe a day apart, so it'll be ready.
One eternity later.
And then we see her reconnect with Miles, which is like a way of her starting to open up again to the idea of having people be close to her, especially after she got rejected by her father too. And that makes her that was like the one person that she still had, like the one steady person in her life that was someone who she could always rely on, but now she doesn't have that relationship anymore. So she was closed off, but then Miles again is opening her up again. So like that's how this movie is bookended, with Gwen quitting the band and not accepting friendship or camaraderie or like closeness to other people, and then by the end she forms her own band because of how Miles changed her throughout the course of the movie. And now she's ready to be like have friendships, and especially with Miles like going to go get him, and now she's ready to have friends again and like be a part of, like, not only is she a part of a band, but she formed her own band. So she was like proactively going to seek out other people. So that's Gwen's like internal struggle and her personal arc throughout the story, like what she's going through. But let's talk about how she relates to Miles also, like how Miles and Gwen's story unfolds, because I think this is really interesting, and I haven't heard anybody talk about this, but like there's a lot of stuff going on with like interracial couples, especially between like a black person and a white person in America. Because there's a whole bunch of stuff, like there's a reason why they name this whole thing the Spider Society. It's like a metaphor for high society. And like even in America today, there are still spaces where black people aren't really accepted. And when Gwen gets invited to join this band, or invited to this party as the creators call it, and like she's a part of the Spider Society, it's like this elite place where, you know, she's a part of it, and she wants to take her black friend or her black boyfriend there, but he's not really accepted the way, because like that's just not a space where those kind of people are, where you're used to seeing those kind of people. And she's struggling with this. It's like a hard thing, because she's like, well, this is normal to me. And even like the way Gwen is, her character, like she's a trained ballet dancer, so she's kind of like and part of a high-end society anyway, but she rebels against that by being a drummer in a band. So on her own merit, she never really was a part of it. She never really cared about that kind of stuff. But like the way she was raised is different. Like Miles they're both artists, but Miles is like a street artist. He's a graffiti artist, and then Gwen is a ballet dancer. So there's this like, they're like in 2 different worlds, sort of. Literally, like not like even within like their their social status is sort of like 2 different worlds, not just their actual universes. So that's even cooler. Like that's another metaphor. They're in literally 2 different worlds. Gwen is like in this Spider Society, and it's just normal for her, but Miles isn't invited. And like there's all kinds of metaphors about Miles and like his race, and we'll talk more about like Miles in general, about like all the allegories about him not being accepted by the fandom because of his race, and like even to this day, there's people who won't accept Miles as Spider-Man just because of the color of his skin. But we'll talk more about that when we talk about Miles just by himself. But yeah, as it relates to Gwen, I thought it was really clever how they were like, how like she first takes Miles into the Spider Society, and Miles is like, this is amazing, and you can't believe it. He's looking around, and Gwen is like, this is the lobby, like this is nothing. So it's like like a poor kid coming in to like seeing the world of his girlfriend who's like super rich or something, and like this isn't even the fancy part, this is just the lobby. And he's so amazed about it, and then she's like, welcome to Spider Society, and like the way she says it is so uneasy, because she knows Miles isn't welcome. Like within the story, he's not welcome for other reasons, but like metaphorically, he's not welcome because there aren't people like that. Like minorities aren't usually welcome in those kinds of spaces. So I thought that was really clever, man. I haven't heard anybody really say anything about that, but I think that's a clear metaphor, because they wouldn't have called it the Spider Society like that, because I don't think it's called that in the comics, in the Spider-Verse comics. I've I think that was a new thing for this. So yeah, it's definitely like a metaphor for like high society. And like that's one of the amazing thing about Gwen's arc too, is because at first she clings to this spider society because of her rejection by her father, so she has nowhere else to go. But as she realizes that they don't accept Miles, she comes to realize that her relationship with Miles is more important than being a part of this high society, and that is a really important thing for someone in the majority group. If they are in a relationship with someone in a minority group who's oppressed, that they come to that realization, like, I don't want to be a part of these things where there's like maybe not even like explicit racism, but just implicit racism, and they finally break free and like, yeah, I don't want to be a part of this, I don't want to contribute to this because it's not good for my relationship, or it's just not a good thing. And it takes them being in a relationship with a minority to even realize that there was a problem to begin with. So yeah, I thought that was really, really well done, and that's a big part of Gwen's arc. Like finally, because like the whole movie, she's just playing Miles, sort of like she's just really with the Spider Society people, and just like, but she wants to help Miles at the same time, but she's really more on the side of the Spider Society. And her real arc is her coming to realize, no, the Spider Society isn't where it's at. I want to be with Miles and support him fully instead of trying to have both. And that was her, this was her moment of not being able to have both. Like she couldn't be a part of the Spider Society and completely support Miles. So she also had her little two cake moment, and like that's her real two cake moment, where she couldn't have her cake and eat it too. So she had to reject the Spider Society finally and go against Miguel O'Hara, and finally say like, no, I'm gonna make my own band. And that's the most punk rock thing that she could do. Like that's why we'll have whole videos about Hobie Brown Spider Punk later. So then she leaves the Spider Society, forms her own band to go save Miles, and it completes her story arc. And that's why the movie feels so satisfying still, even though it ends on that cliffhanger, because Gwen's story is complete. Miles' story also gets completed because he ends up telling his mom that he's Spider-Man. So even though it ended up being the wrong mom, Miles goes through a complete story arc where he's worried about his parents not loving him if he reveals himself to them, and then by the end of this, and he wants to be in the Spider Society. Then he realizes that it's not good, and then he leaves the Spider Society to go back home, and be in like so that's his hero's journey, even within this one movie, even though he goes to the wrong home. And then he has the confidence and the belief in his parents, the faith in his parents that they'll accept him to tell his mom. So like both of those two main characters have complete story or complete character arcs. Although Miles' story arc is not finished, I think this is like the Gwen's character arc is pretty much wrapped up. The way Peter B. Parker's character arc wrapped up in the first movie, we see that come to fruition in this one with his daughter Mayday. So yeah, this is definitely a complete movie. Like that's the one criticism people are talking about. And like what I would say is that the movie could have ended like 10 or 20 minutes earlier, but what this really feels like is not like a cliffhanger ending. What it feels like is it feels like a complete movie. It feels like a book, like you read a book and the next book is already out or it's almost finished or something, and then after you read the book, at the end you get a bonus chapter of the next book, like you get the first chapter of the next book. So this cliffhanger ending felt more like we got an extra chapter instead of it being like, oh, why did it end right there? It was just like, this is basically the beginning of the next movie. It wasn't a cliffhanger ending, because the movie really ended like when Miles escaped from the Spider Society and got to his other universe, but even though it was the wrong one. So it could have ended before, or like even just like when you realize, oh man, I'm in the wrong place, and then they could have ended it, and people would have been like, dang, that's crazy, he's in the wrong universe, so what's gonna happen when he's in the next one? But then they gave us like a bonus chapter, and we're like, let's let them see the Prowler Wild, because that's cool. So yeah, the movie is definitely finished. It's just like we got a bonus chapter. People were like, oh, there's no end credit scene, but that whole ending was like a 10-minute or 15-minute long end credit scene. So, and man, the music at the end, the way oh my goodness, the ending music with Gwen's drums coming in to support Miles, and you have the Prowler theme and Miles theme going at each other. It's so incredible, man. But I won't be able to do the music on YouTube, but it's just incredible. Yeah, man. So that's gonna do it for this one about Gwen's story. This video ended up being really long, much longer than I thought it was going to be, but I'm going to do a few more of these, like about Miles for sure, about Spider-Punk. We got to do one about Spider-Punk, and maybe about like the Spider Society in general, or maybe just like the plot in general. But yeah, man, let me know what you guys are thinking about this movie Across the Spider-Verse. How hyped are you for Beyond the Spider-Verse, the part 2? Because this is really part 1 of 2, but it's still a complete film. I would say it's a complete movie, but not a complete story, because the story's still going, since we haven't had a resolution with all of Miles' story threads. But yeah, man, this movie was just amazing. It's the best movie going experience I've had in years and years, like since The Matrix. Like I haven't felt like this in a movie theater since I watched The Matrix. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to make more content about this. I just had to say something. I had to talk to somebody about it, man. So let me know what you guys are thinking. What kind of deeper meanings did you guys find in the movies? And yeah, because that's what we love to talk about here. It's like getting deep into the meaning and the philosophy behind the stuff. Like the action and everything was incredible. Even the baseline story just on the surface was just really cool and really good. But when you look at the metaphors, especially like we'll talk about the canon and everything about Miles' acceptance in actual real life. We'll talk about that in the next one. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, or also like my normal content. See you guys in the next one. Everybody stay safe out there. Peace and love.